Hello, friends. It's Chris.
It's Zach.
And welcome to another episode of Chris and Zach Attack.
Attack. What are we attacking?
We're going to attack MMOs today.
We're going to beat the shit out of MMOs.
Just gonna wait for it outside in the parking lot and with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Go Mick Foley
exactly
style.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Anyway, so what in particular are we talking about MMOs? I guess we're just going to go through the history, what we kind of think about them today, you know?
Yeah, we'll go through the history. I mean, it's not like we're not like experts on MMOs by any means. We're just going to talk about the MMOs we think might have like been like relevant in history and like shaped the past and the future and where we are now. And so,
yeah.
To give a brief overview of MMOs, we're not trying to go too in depth on anything.
Well, Zach says that we aren't an expert on MMOs. I am an expert on MMOs. I know everything about MMOs, and by that, I've only really played WoW.
Yeah, I mean that's the one that I played the most. Also, is World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I mean that's the most popular MMO. So
the most popular, the most successful MMO. There have been other ones. Whoops. There have been other ones. What did I roll? I rolled a dice just now. I rolled an 8. Good job.
Not good.
Yes. It was only a 10-sided die, though, so.
Oh, well, okay. You're okay.
Yeah. So,
You did it.
So, yeah, MMOs, obviously, like we said, World of Warcraft is the most popular, most successful, and there have been many that have tried to replicate its success to...
Oh, man.
No avail. I mean, there's one in particular that you could say has had great success, which is true.
Yeah.
But matching up to WoW and where it was at way back when, 12 million subscribers, I don't think anybody's going to get that far.
Not going to happen.
But it all didn't start with WoW. It started with this little game in 1995 called Meridian 59.
Yeah, I'd never heard this one. Like, looking this up, like, I was, because, I mean, we just looked up, like, the first MMO, and this one came. I always thought it was, I mean, EverQuest. I thought EverQuest was the first MMO when I was, like, doing this. But, yeah, Meridian 59. I mean, it sounds like a cool game at the time.
Yeah, it did. It had a lot of traditional RPG elements. Like, you would, I think you were saying, you would develop your stats individually. Your health, your mana. You go to collect mana. You go around and collect mana nodes. For health, you defeat challenging creatures. I'm guessing if you want to develop a sword skill, you use your sword a lot or something. So
yeah, I mean it sounds like a fun game, and I mean it sounded like that was like the foundation for a lot of the stuff that the other the fantasy MMOs implemented in their games. So it's a lot of that, like the fantasy sword and sorcery elements. Like that has obviously been. The most popular MMO genres have been that style.
Yep. Yes, it has. And it wasn't. It didn't really take off a whole lot. It was the first one that had a $15 monthly subscription fee. It didn't take off. The MMO genre didn't take off until the next year when Ultima Online was released. Yeah,
Ultima was a series of role-playing games. And then this was their first online one. This is like a success. I mean, it was pretty popular. I mean, if you're a fan of the Ultima games that were older RPGs, I mean, obviously you're going to play Ultima Online. But this one, like, it was a 2D top-down isometric one. So I mean, it was a little bit harder to appeal to a mass market because you don't have the 3D graphics, you don't have the 3D world that you can go into. So it's like a 2D.
It was a top-down, right? Top-down type of world?
Yeah, top-down. Yeah, like the isometric top-down. I mean, but if you're a fan of the Ultima stuff, then this would be totally fine. You're like, okay, well, this is the game. So.
Yeah. And then not much else to say about Ultima Online, do you think? Or I mean, it was a very fun game. A lot of people really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, it has a following. Like, you could still, if you look up Ultima, I think there's still an MMO that you can play right now. I'm pretty sure, like, Ultima games are still being made. I mean, they're not as popular as they once were, but they're still making Ultima games.
Yes. And I was just looking up something. Okay, so then that was kind of the only MMO around at the time for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then in March 16th, 1999, EverQuest came out.
Yeah, this is the big one.
That was a big release.
EverQuest, I feel like, was one of the first MMOs to like kind of like gain like mass appeal. Like even if you weren't like a gamer, you kind of knew what EverQuest was. Like you just heard about it. Like, oh, EverQuest, this online world where you can go and kill monsters. Like people knew what EverQuest was, and you didn't like specifically. You weren't a part of that genre, or like you weren't like, oh, I play MMOs, but like I heard about it and I had never played MMOs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just heard about it.
Yep. And after EverQuest came out, it kind of made a landslide, and there were some other, quite a few MMOs after that. Star Wars Galaxy, probably one of the most notable ones.
Star Wars Galaxy. Yeah.
I remember spending a lot of time in that game, trying to become a Jedi and stuff like that.
Yeah, I played a lot of that one. The old version before their weird update. Yeah, I played a lot of Star Wars Galaxies. That was like probably one of the biggest hyped MMOs. Like that was back when like they like get pretty big hype. Like, oh, a new MMO's coming out, and everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited for it.
Shirt's all wrinkled.
Oh, jeez, what a scrub.
Yeah, and then honestly, I cannot off the top of my head think of any other MMOs that came out at that time. I know there were a ton of them though.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty popular time for MMOs. I mean, it wasn't like we're going to talk about next. I mean, it was even more popular with like probably like 5 years from now, 6 years from now, like 2004, 2005 is when they really exploded. And then companies were being created just making MMOs pretty much.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of companies, like we were just talking about Sony Online Entertainment, they were pretty much just capitalizing off of the popularity of a lot of movies or a lot of pulp culture. Yeah, because Sony pop culture stuff like they created Star Wars Galaxies. They also created Matrix Online.
Yeah, they did that one.
Unfortunately, Matrix Online didn't get very far. Kind of died pretty early, or didn't die early, but it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look up Sony Online, they're not called Sony Online. They're a different company now.
Yeah.
But if you look up Sony Online and like you look at their games, I mean, it's MMOs, MMO. I guess it kind of says something though, because Sony doesn't own it anymore. They sold it. It's called Daybreak Games now. Sony sold it, so maybe Sony saw like, well, the MMO genre and like the MMO model isn't as like popular as it once was, so Sony backed out. So they said, okay, we don't want to be in it anymore. So maybe that's telling.
At the same time, like they had created so many MMOs that instead of like, they were so worried about capitalizing on the profit of
because these are all subscription based.
Icon, they're all subscription based. Yeah. And they were so worried about capitalizing on the pulp culture of these different MMOs that came out that they released, and that they just kind of forgot that like maybe we should just focus on one. And if we just focus on one, it'll be more popular.
Because it's like, okay, maybe we release Star Wars Galaxies, and then we solely focus on Star Wars Galaxies instead of releasing it. Hoping you get like 1 million subscribers, playing for like 2 months, and then like giving up on the game. Like, well, we got those 1 million people, we got their $30 from 1 million people. Like, cool, we made a profit.
Yep.
Now we're done. So.
Yep. But Star Wars Galaxy did go on for a little while. When did they shut that one down? Let's look.
Star Wars Galaxies, I have it right here.
Good.
Release it 2003. The game was completely overhauled in 2005. The server shut down December 15, 2011.
Okay.
It lasted a good while.
Yeah, it did. From 2003 to 2011, that was what? I'm blanking on it, honestly.
What?
What's the math?
8.
8 years? Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. That's a great run for an
8
MMO.
years. I mean, and then, like, okay, it says something about the popularity of Star Wars Galaxies. Like, you can still, like, Google search, like, Star Wars Galaxies, play, and you can still play Star Wars Galaxies if you really want to, like the original versions. Like there's open source, and like there's private servers that you can still play on. I mean, that says something for how popular the game was. Like in 2017, you could still go and play that game the way it was originally released in 2003, because it was a good game at the time. Like I played it a lot.
Yeah, it was a very good game. It was a sandbox MMO, so you could pretty much there was really no like linear type of questing or anything like that. It was you go anywhere you want, you do anything you want. If you wanted to build a town, you go build a town down in the middle of nowhere.
I always was a bounty hunter. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be a.
I tried to become a Jedi, and let me tell you that was hard. That was hard stuff.
I remember reading a news article about the first person who became a Jedi in that game. That's how like exciting it was. It's like first Jedi in Star Wars Galaxy. They made a news article on it. Like wow.
It was insane how popular this game was. It was so fun.
Like the collector's edition, it came in like a box.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
this
did
box. It had like a figure. I was like, damn, this game.
Yeah.
This game. And I never played it after like did you play it after that update? Because I didn't play it.
Unfortunately not. Of course, the computer I was playing on, it was like an old, really old PC type computer. It wasn't anything to tote about. So every time I was in a major city, I would lag to hell.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I remember specifically, I would yell at everybody for being on their mounts because I thought the mounts were lagging out the city.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, it was a pretty entertaining run.
Yeah, the computer I played on it lagged when I was playing Diablo 2. If that says anything, like Diablo 2 is not a graphically intense game, and I would load up the game and it would take like 5 minutes to load into the game. Like that's how bad this computer was. I played on.
That's great. That's awesome. I bet you when you got that gaming computer with the Windows Vista and you were playing Diablo 2 on there.
When my parents brought that home, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, man, dude, I can play anything now. Like, Doom 3, let's do it.
Anyway, so it wouldn't be a very good episode of talking about MMOs if we didn't bring up World of Warcraft and how it got popular. And that came out in 2004, as most people know. And what World of Warcraft did was it simplified. It was kind of like an EverQuest clone, but what it did was it simplified a lot of things that EverQuest made a little complicated. Their professions system was a kind of a point and click type of window, or I'm describing WoW. WoW's profession system was, you got the mats, you click on the spell, you click create, and it's done. I don't know how it was in EverQuest, but from what I heard, it was pretty complicated. And a lot of people, people still played it, people still liked it, and, but WoW just made it simpler. And another thing that they made simpler was EverQuest, when you're in a guild, and what guilds like to do is they like to take on challenging things. And what EverQuest did is they brought a lot of challenging bosses in their world, but the thing is it was a first come, first serve type of thing. If your guild wasn't there to kill this boss, or if your guild did not get this tag, then you were effed for like a week. And what WoW did was WoW took all these bosses, they put them in a little instance and said, these are dungeons, these are raids, these are for you guys, anybody can do them at any given time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I remember when I played, because I played World of Warcraft, I played probably in the second expansion, so that was probably like 3 years after it was initially released.
Yeah.
I mean, the first expansion, Burning Crusade. I never played the vanilla, so I can't base my experience. But playing World of Warcraft, it was just the biggest game that I'd ever played. It was huge. Jumping into that game, I had never played a game with I just felt so small in this world. I felt like I could go anywhere and just get lost in this world. This is probably the first game where I ever experienced that, where just a sense of wonder almost. Holy crap!
Mm-hmm.
I can do anything.
Yeah. That's a lot of what I felt too. It was a very, very large world, especially back in vanilla. I played how much did I play in vanilla? I know I played a little bit. I played a very small amount in the vanilla, and then it wasn't until just before Burning Crusade came out that I started playing a lot more. It was me and our buddy Colin. We were playing a lot, and we were leveling a little bit together. And I just remember going around just because this was before you could fly. You couldn't fly in this world. It was just walking until you were level 40, and then you got a 60% increased speed ground mount. And then at level 60, if you had enough money, which a lot of people didn't at that time, we could go on.
It was so hard to make money back.
So
oh my god!
Game for a lot of people. And excuse me. And at level 60, you got the 100% increased speed mount. The epic mount is what they called it. And I just remember going around and just being like, man, this is so cool. I just go exploring and and the questing was so much fun. It was a lot of fun just kind of diving into the unknown. And
then like I remember playing like with the Burning Crusade, like the first expansion, and then going to Outlands and just like I was like, oh my. I'm like, there's like another whole world that I can explore. Like, I've already explored Azeroth. Now I can explore Outland. I was like, oh my god.
I
was like, holy crap.
The moment you step through the dark portal, and there's these huge demons, this pit lord right there. And it's like, what is this? This is so cool.
I know. I mean, and then being able to fly, I mean, I just flew around. Like, I didn't even do anything. I was just flying around. It's like swooping up and down. I was like, wow, I can go anywhere.
Yeah,
like,
that was a lot of fun. That was the fun of it, like, just the unknown of it. Now, we'll kind of get into what World of Warcraft has become today. But for now, it was a huge success, World of Warcraft. 2004, when did Burning Crusade come out? Do you have that down?
I think it's 2007. I think it came out 3 years afterwards. I'm pretty sure.
Burning Crusade release date. It doesn't tell me. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you're right. January 15th, 2007.
Yeah.
I remember waiting outside at a GameStop for it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I'm about to burp again. Ugh. I had food today before we did this. That's why I'm sounding so gross. But anyway, it was a huge success. The first expansion came out 3 years after the initial release.
Yeah.
Even the initial release was just a huge success. It eventually skyrocketed in popularity, hitting the pulp culture status when South Park made an episode based on it. I'm sure you guys remember that episode.
Oh yeah, like that's one of South Park's most popular episodes. I mean, it's still one of their most popular episodes, and like that was. I mean, people who I remember because I think I was in high school still when that episode came out. I mean, everyone was talking about that episode.
Yeah, like how do you kill one that has no life?
Yeah, and then like the sword of 1,000 truths or whatever it was, and like they got to save the world.
We got to
Warcraft.
We got to kill boars and get all the experience. And then
I remember. I mean that episode came out, and I feel like that kind of brought. I mean, because they thought that it was gonna like be like a huge backlash, but I mean, I think what it eventually did was bring more people to Warcraft, and more people sought it out because. They're like, oh, I want to check this game out because it looks like fun. I mean, it looks silly. They're making fun of it, and they're using World of Warcraft graphics in it. So, I mean, it's like Blizzard was okay with it, and they're like, yeah, do it. Cool. And then I think it was good in the long run. I think a lot of people came to the game because of that episode.
Probably. You're probably right about that. Let's see. And then now around the same time that WoW came out, 2004, there's another game come out that was called City of Heroes, and we were going to do a little comparison on these two games.
Yeah, because that came out a little bit before, like a couple months before.
Yeah, I think it came out in March, and then WoW came out in November. So there was a good 8-9 months between 7 months between two. I think I did the math right. I am not good at counting. City of Heroes in 2004 won the MMO of the year.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, when WoW skyrocketed in subscription numbers, it was touted as a better game, obviously. So you take City of Heroes, an MMO of the year, 2004.
Which City of Heroes was kind of unique at the time in the MMO genre because it wasn't a fantasy sword and sorcery MMO. It was you could play as a superhero, which was unique because at the time that was the only MMO where you could play as a superhero. They didn't have MMOs like that. If you wanted to play an MMO, you were pretty much like there was a couple space one like Eve was released at that time.
Yep.
But that was like
popular too.
I mean that's like they call that like spreadsheet the game. I mean that game is so complex and it's like a simulation. But I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of space ones. There was a lot of fantasy ones, and then this one came out, and it was like, well, it's like a comic book MMO. So it was like pretty unique, and it was really well done at the time.
It was.
But yeah,
they had a lot of expansions. They released a counterpart called City of Villains.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Dying here.
Sorry. And then I'm dying. I don't know. I'm gonna die on the camera right now.
YouTube first. Streamer, podcaster dies, videocaster dies on live.
Anyway, what was I on? City of Heroes, City of Villains.
Yeah. City of Villains.
They even had a lot of lawsuits. Marvel, tried to get some lawsuits going because people were creating Marvel characters in the game. They didn't end up panning out. But
you're walking a fine line there where it's like, oh, I'm making Wolverine?
And at the same time, I think it was before Marvel Cinematic Universe's success.
Yeah, this like predates that by, I mean, a bunch of years. So, I mean, this is like before that.
Years,
I mean,
because
I mean, the X-Men movies. The X-Men movies came out in 2000. Yep. So I feel like you were making a lot of your X-Men characters in the City of Heroes game at the time. You wanted to be Cyclops and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. And then now what we thought was really interesting is City of Heroes, we said it ended in 2008 it had a peak subscription
That's like
base.
This is when that game like peaked, was 2008. Like came out in 2003 and then it gradually moved up. In 2008 was at its highest numbers. But its highest numbers, I was like, this cannot be right. I was like, these numbers are so incredibly low.
Yeah.
But at the time, this was like pretty good. Like 1 million players was like really, really, really amazing for an MMO at the time. Like that was unheard of almost. So like their peak numbers, wasn't it like only like 100 and...
It was 180,000 at peak.
Yeah. So I mean,
that was between 2008 and then 2012 is when they shut it down.
Yeah. So I was like, 100. This is it. Because I think what happened was like the game comes out, gets hyped, wins awards, and then World of Warcraft comes out and kind of just steals all of its thunder, and it's like
mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So people played this game for a bunch. I mean, they played their subscriptions because it was a subscription-based game. And then World of Warcraft came out and kind of took over the MMO landscape.
Yep. But to kind of give it a comparison, so City Heroes was 180,000 subscribers in 2008. World of Warcraft had just reached 10 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of just puts it into perspective, like, how, like, almost once in a lifetime World of Warcraft is and was. Like, those numbers were so incredibly unheard of. Like, World of Warcraft was doing these numbers that were just ungodly numbers that MMOs had never done before.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like, we might never see a success like this in our lifetimes. Like, this might never happen again. I mean, World of Warcraft just happened at the right time.
Yeah. It happened at a perfect time, and a lot of MMOs couldn't keep up, and a lot of them before, during the beta, the early access, all that stuff, they were all touted. A lot of MMOs were touted as WoW killers. They were like, this is going to be it. This is going to be the one that kills WoW.
Yeah, it was like a weird trend. Like, World of Warcraft came out, and it was probably like a year, 2 years after World of Warcraft's success. It was like successful MMO.
Yep. Like
maybe, okay, let's go 3 years. So after Burning Crusade is like when it's like, bam, this game's really popular. But so like 3 years after World of Warcraft, then like all these other MMOs start being released as the WoW killer.
Yep.
Like, I never understood that that marketing behind that.
Well,
Like,
I don't think
what?
it was a marketing thing. I think it was a fan base thing. Because I don't think the marketing team would say, "Yeah, we're the WoW killer." Like,
Oh, that one I looked up, they had an advertisement that said we're not in Azeroth anymore. Like trying to.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. I have it written down
Rift.
somewhere. Yeah, I think it was Rift or like
Sure,
that
Rift.
Aeon or whatever.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's either Rift or Aeon. Ion, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
AION.
It doesn't matter anymore, pretty much, because these games don't exist. So like, yeah, they can be the WoW killers, but
yeah. So yeah, the people were calling them the WoW killers. There were tons of games that were called the WoW killers. Rift, WildStar, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Blade and Soul, Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars, Lord of the Rings Online, Aeon, whatever you say it, Warhammer Online, Age of Conan, DCUO, which DC
Universe.
DC Universe Online. That's it. Star Trek Online, etc., 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 etc.
Just, I mean, so many games claiming to be the WoW killer, but I mean, it's like, what is WoW killer? What does that even mean? Like, like in the long run, like if you actually think about like WoW, I mean, do people say like games are going to be like, oh, this is like the Call of Duty killer? Like that's not a thing. Like I don't understand why the WoW killer kept happening and kept people like, I don't know.
It just kind of kept coming around. Like people kept talking about it. Like, oh, that's the game that's going to kill WoW. It's going to do it.
Wow.
Oh.
So, like,
I jumped on that train. I thought for sure Star Wars: The Old Republic was going to be a WoW killer. For sure thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But that turned out into something else entirely.
Yeah. We'll get to that cluster in a little bit.
Yeah.
We have one that was like not a WoW killer, but probably one of the most successful out of the bunch. Like you talk about that one. Was it Final Fantasy?
Yeah, it was Final Fantasy, but I'll talk about that in a second. But
sorry, jumped the gun.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're getting excited.
I jumped it.
But in our opinion, Zach and I talked about it. In our opinion, there really isn't going to be a WoW killer.
No.
WoW's success cannot be replicated in such the fashion that it had been. The only thing at this point to kill WoW is WoW. That's either going to be with a bad expansion or players leaving to move on to other things, like myself, for instance.
Yeah, just getting sick of the game, or I mean, like, okay, so we see a lot now. World of Warcraft was released in 2004. I mean, that's 13 years. So I mean, if you were playing this game at age 20, I mean, you're 33 now. It's like you could have a family, you could have kids, other priorities, time job. So I mean, that could be another reason people leave the game too. It's like, well, I just started my life and I just ran out of time.
Yep. Or there's another guy. He's really popular Twitch streamer. His name's Soda Poppin. He got most of his fame from playing World of Warcraft, but he doesn't play it anymore. I think he plays it from time to time, but excuse me, he just has moved on. Like he's got such a big follower base that he can afford to. So, and people will definitely they'll just go to watch him be him. So,
yeah.
But I mean, the biggest point where WoW can kill itself with a bad expansion is World Wars of Draenor.
Which is pretty recent. Was that like 3 years ago now?
2014, I thought it was, or maybe I'm too early.
Yeah, November 15, 14. And then obviously, what was it called? Legion. World of Warcraft Legion has just come out. It was released just this last fall. Now, Warlords of Draenor, it released, and it got a lot of hype. It got World of Warcraft back up to the 10 million subscriber standard. Because from Wrath of the Lich King, after Wrath of the Lich King came Cataclysm, and from Cataclysm to the end of Mists of Pandaria, so that's 2 expansions, they had dwindled from 12 million down to, I believe it was 7 million. So they lost 5 million subscribers, and it could be due to a number of things. People just disinterested in the games, yada yada, or people growing up, moving on with their life, stuff like that. But when Warlords of Draenor came out, the 10 million subscriber mark got back up. But here's the thing. The initial leveling up process to level 100 was a lot of fun. Everybody loved it. The initial end game content was lacking. There wasn't any. There was a little bit to build up your garrison, and then once you build up your garrison, there wasn't really much else to do. So people were sitting around in their garrison doing nothing, sending their followers out on missions, and it was
because MMOs need to have an end game.
Yeah,
like, you need to focus on what to do at the end.
Yep,
that's like the main part of the game.
Leveling only takes up so much time, and once you get to the final level or the max level, you got to have something to do at the end of it.
Yeah.
So, but at this point in time, WoW had basically become a $15 a month Facebook game, because all you would do is you would sit in your garrison, click on your little mission table, and send your followers out to do stuff that you should be doing. And a lot of people hated that.
It's garbage. I played a little bit of the garrison stuff, because I played the most recent expansion, but I went back just to check out. Okay, so what was this all about? And man, those garrison things were so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. It was so boring.
I
think I did 20 of them, and I was like, I am just so sick of this. This is so stupid.
And the big marketing thing about it was they tooted their horn and said, this is going to be our version of player housing. You're going to get your own base, which sounded really cool, but it was executed poorly.
Well, you could only put your base in one spot, and it was very structured where you could put everything, and you could only do certain things, and it was just ugh.
Yeah, and then so because of all this bad experience, I got to talk about 6.1. 6.1, they released 6.1, which was a patch after the release of Warlords of Draenor. And the biggest thing that it had in that patch was a selfie camera.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad. I mean, they had a continuation of the storyline with the what's it called, the legendary reign, but after that, it was just a selfie camera, and they went on to call it a major patch, and everybody was just kind of like, no, this isn't a major patch. So it got into talks of people wanting to go back and play the original World of Warcraft or vanilla World of Warcraft, and all this talk about legacy servers, and a lot of people were just getting really, really, really pissed because they were saying your current game is not sufficient. Yeah. What else is going on? Give us something to play in this game because we want to keep playing it, but there's nothing to do. Yeah. And Blizzard was just kind of like, we hear you.
Wow. We're not doing anything. We'll hear you, though.
We hear you. That's about it. They weren't communicating with their customer base, and it sucked.
Yeah, which is bad.
And it brought that 10 million subscribers all the way back down to 5.5 million. And then at that point, Blizzard was like, yeah, we're not going to release our subscription numbers anymore because that's not how we should be viewed as how we make money.
No. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm glad they don't do it because it's almost useless at this point. It's I mean, the amount of people that play World of Warcraft is so much greater than all the other MMOs. It's saying that 5 million people are playing World of Warcraft is oh no, that's so bad. But if you say 5 million people are playing the Old Republic, it's holy shit, that's a lot of people playing that game. Mm-hmm. So it's the metric just doesn't work.
Excuse me. Yeah, especially when you were up to 12 million subscribers at your high point. Yeah. And then you fall back down to 5.5, and it's 5.5. Let's face it, it's still a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a major city.
A lot. That's a lot.
Bigger than a major city sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you're up there.
It's I know it's bigger than Minneapolis, that's for sure. I think Minneapolis is 3 million, but when they stopped showing their subscription numbers, people were just kind of thinking like, okay, Blizzard's dying, or World of Warcraft is dying.
People got worried, like, okay, they don't release the numbers, and it's like, is that like a terrible sign? Like, are people just bleeding out of this game, and like, is everyone just leaving? Is like World of Warcraft going to get shut down? It's like, well, no, they just need to focus on other things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had a lot more going on in their office than we thought. They released a new IP, Overwatch. They, I think at the same time, Heroes of the Storm was getting pretty big. Hearthstone was getting pretty big, and all that stuff.
StarCraft, Diablo. I mean, they got a lot. I mean, it's not like, I mean, there's a lot of people that work at Blizzard, but it's not. I mean, it's a big company, but they have other projects going.
Yep.
Like, they can't just. So.
Yeah. But one, in my personal opinion, that 5 million subscriber base that they lost from the initial launch, I think it went over to Final Fantasy XIV, and that's where we're going to get to talking about that game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of me talking, I feel.
It's okay. You know more about MMOs. Yeah, hey, talk away, man.
So Final Fantasy XIV originally released, I have no idea when the hell it released. I gotta write this stuff down. I'm so not good at this.
Yeah, because I never played the Final Fantasy XIV.
I never played it.
I heard that it was
a Realm Reborn, not the.
Yeah, that's the new one.
A Realm Reborn, like.
Yeah.
Because I remember Final Fantasy XIV was like,
oh, it's getting pretty big. Hot game's getting hyped up. Like, it's going to be a big release, and like Square Enix obviously wanted it to be a success. I mean, they were saying, well, like, because Final Fantasy XI was the other MMO in the Final Fantasy universe in the Final Fantasy series, and that was a big hit at the time. That was a successful MMORPG. That was for the PC and PlayStation 2. And that was big. That was a big game. So they were saying like this is like going to continue the success of Final Fantasy XI.
Yep.
But when it first came out,
it came out in September 30th, 2010.
2010.
See, I'm good at this. It came out in 2010, and it was shit.
Yeah.
Absolute crap. Horrible, horrible, horrible game. The developers tried their best with it. Eventually, Square Enix fired the entire development team, hired in new people to work on it.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, here you guys go, make it better. So they tried their best. They tried their best. And they were like, we can't make it better. We literally have to make this from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So they shut down on November 11th, 2012.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I remember watching a video. They were showing like just doing simple things in that game. Like they showed Final Fantasy 14 like selling items to a vendor versus World of Warcraft selling items to a vendor, and it was just like World of Warcraft. It was just instantaneous, like boom, 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 you're done. And Final Fantasy it was just like slow and didn't work, and it was just like watching.
There should have been.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was like, why would anyone play this game? Like this game, so bad.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. So November 11th, 2012, they shut the servers down and said to their fan base, "We are sorry.
Yeah.
The only way we can make this better is to remake it." So that's what they promised. They said, we're going to remake this game, and it's going to be better than it was. And that's exactly what they did. Let's see. Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn release date. Hopefully it gives me the right one. Okay. So on August 24th, 2013, they released Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
And now this is really interesting. This is what I thought was really cool. So Final Fantasy 14 had its own lore, and like most Final Fantasy games do.
Yeah.
They're all separate from each other, aside from a little different nuances.
Sequels here and there. Yeah.
Yeah. But the original Final Fantasy 14 when they ended it, when they released A Realm Reborn, they took that story that ended in 14 and continued it on through A Realm Reborn. So it was actually pretty cool. And they just kind of called it like an incident or an event that nobody really remembers or something like that.
Yeah.
Aside from like the player character, he's like the only person that is like the hero or something like that. But A Realm Reborn came out, and it's so much better, and it just showed that Square Enix just did everything that they said they would. Like we said,
I heard it was a huge turnaround for them. I heard like they fixed pretty much everything that was wrong with it, and like it's actually like a really good MMO, and they're still supporting it right now. I mean, it's still being supported, so it's obviously a success because they're still working on it, and they still want it to be successful.
Yep, it's still got a subscription base, $15 a month, so that's a lot better than other MMOs can do. And it's got a couple expansions. I think it's got.
Yeah, I think one comes out. I think one comes out this year. Actually, I'll check.
You're probably right.
Like I've just heard, but I think it does come out this year.
But yeah, it's just an absolutely awesome game. I definitely need to go back and play it again.
I mean,
because you can instead of different classes. So most MMOs have a class race based system. So you can take any race and have one character be any class you want. All you got to do is switch weapons. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this right here. Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood.
Yep.
Exclusive to PS4 and PC players. It comes out this summer.
Nice.
Stormblood. So they're still pumping out content for this game. So.
Yep. And I think at one point last year, it might have been the year before, but Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn or whatever. Final Fantasy 14, the developer came out and said, we now have 5 million subscribers. And I'm thinking, so that 5 million from World of Warcraft that left the game went and played A Realm Reborn instead.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a good thing because if Final Fantasy 14 if they gave up on like that initial release, like so Final Fantasy 14 came out and they gave up on it and they never re-released it, there wouldn't ever be that moment for the World of Warcraft players to jump on because it came out kind of at the perfect time. In like 2013 was like almost like the perfect time for people to jump in because World of Warcraft had limited content, so people were hungry for new stuff, and that came out like bam. We have something new for you guys. Like, check it out. It's good. That was kind of like the perfect storm.
Yes, it was. And it's definitely a success story to this day. It's a continuing success story. But now with that, like we said, that was the only one of these MMOs that were touted as a WoW killer to be a huge success. Yeah, quote unquote WoW killer.
Yeah, because the rest either fail. I mean, I have a couple examples. Matrix Online, that came out in 2005. That was a subscription model. That was Sony Online. It came out and that one failed. It was shut down in 2009. But that was, I mean, at the time there were so many MMOs. I mean, you had Lord of the Rings Online. You had Matrix Online. You still had Star Wars Galaxies. I mean, there were just so many MMOs trying to compete with World of Warcraft. It is a limited space. MMO is not infinite number of people playing MMOs. Like, it's a pretty relatively small genre. I mean, unless you're talking about like World of Warcraft.
Yep.
So I mean, like, you need to get like an audience. You need to get them to accept this subscription model. At the time, that was like the only thing. And it's kind of a lot to ask for. So a lot of them shut down.
Yeah, a lot of them shut down, or a few of them went into a different direction. They went into a free-to-play model.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people would call it free-to-play, pay-to-win model.
Yeah. Or like the premium service, premium subscription.
Yeah, and so most notably, I think the second most successful, I would say, free-to-play model would be SWTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic.
Yeah.
So that was released. It was thought to be a WoW killer, like a lot of them. Excuse me.
Not a WoW killer.
And it was a lot of fun. I remember playing it. I got up to the max level. It really concentrated on leveling, storytelling.
Yeah.
And it continued on with the... Wow, I gotta stop eating before we do this. just... So it was a storytelling based, kind of like a single player MMO type deal, which...
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun if you play through it, level up to the max level, see the story. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It continues on the success of Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Republic 2, respectively, and kind of it finishes the story of Revan in kind of a convoluted way, but you know, but at the end game, level 50 was the max level. There was nothing to do, and it was really bad. That's kind of where it stopped. So you got this awesome leveling experience all the way up to level 50, and then that story experience stops. You have no more real story that you can get into, and it's just kind of like, why? You focus this game on story, but then you don't tell another story at the end of it? What's going on? But
that's no. A lot. See, that's what happens to a lot of MMOs where they're like, oh, people will just play up, like, we got enough content, like, in the leveling stuff, so we'll be okay, but then they don't realize, like, people blow through that content so fast. I mean, like, you have a lot of people playing, and you have a lot of people playing for a long time. Because MMOs, naturally, when you play an MMO, you're going to be in it for a long time.
Yep.
So they don't realize, like, people blow through this content, and they play it so long, so fast. They get to the end game so quick. You need to have a plan for the end game.
Yes, you definitely do. So it wasn't that great. I think they released maybe one one expansion after the initial release, and then nothing really much after that. And eventually they went to the free-to-play model. Now, their free-to-play model consists of, let's see, your original, they have 3 tier types. They have just the free-to-play model, which is, you get to play and level up to max, but you can only do a limited amount of dungeons, a limited amount of raids. Probably, I don't think you can even raid with a free-to-play model.
Yeah, which is garbage, because it's like, I see that a lot. Like, oh, you can play this game for free, but you can't talk to other players. You don't have a mailbox. You can only create one character. You can't customize it. It's like, well, then why do I want to play it for free? Like, obviously, I'm not going to go try your game if you're going to put all these limits on me, because I'm not getting a full experience. So I don't even want it. I don't even care. Like, I don't care at that point.
Oh. Exactly. And so then they also have the premium model. So the premium model really means is if you buy one thing off of their, they call it the cartel market, which is you pay real money and you get these vanity items that really don't do a whole lot. And then your account, it automatically becomes premium. So it you a little bit more unlocks. I think you get a little bit more bag space. You get the mailbox, but you can't. What's funny is you get the mailbox, but you can't transfer credits between different characters. It's so stupid. They're free to. The game is completely meant for a subscription model. Otherwise, you're gonna spend a shit ton of money trying to unlock things, and it's just kind of like, come on, really. Like, that's what I hate most about the game is it's so obvious. Okay, so it's being monitored by BioWare and EA right now, right?
Yeah.
It's so obvious that it's in it for the money. It's their money. It's their cash cow. So
yeah.
But that's an example of how a shitty free-to-play model is. But an example of a good free-to-play model is Elder Scrolls Online. Oh man.
Which is why we kind of decided to do this MMO talk, because they just announced that their new expansion, Morrowind, is coming to the Elder Scrolls Online. So pretty excited about that. I definitely want to jump in and check it out at some point in the near future to see what this game's all about, because
I've seen it hyped up. People I see on Reddit, they're always like, "You need to try Elder Scrolls Online. It's really good."
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of an example too of a game that came out, had a fan base, kind of had a couple missteps here and there. I think they tried the subscription model and it failed.
Well, originally Bethesda wasn't making this game; it was somebody else.
Yeah, well, it's like ZeniMax, like that's the parent company of Bethesda. It's like ZeniMax's side company. Like, but Bethesda, like they're the ones who did Skyrim and all that. They don't really have anything to do with this project. It's kind of just like set in their world that they created. So like a different company's making this, so it doesn't. It's not
it's in Bethesda's hands now, but before. Yeah. I don't even think it was in ZeniMax's hands before. It was in somebody else's hands completely, and Bethesda and ZeniMax were trying to get it back, and they did get it back. And they said, all right, so we got this. They got this far in the game. Let's go ahead and finish it up and release it. See how it goes. Yeah. And it came out with a pretty strong subscription base. The subscription model, $15 a month.
Yeah.
But eventually did go into the free-to-play model. But their free-to-play model is... Okay, so you buy the game for $60.
Yeah.
And you play for free. That's it.
Yeah. Like when we were looking it up, like the things you can buy are like these, like they look like little, like small, like expansions, like little instances or dungeons where you can say you can buy like the Imperial City, and then you can go do quests there and get unique items to the Imperial City.
Yep.
You do the Dark Brotherhood.
Yep.
So it's like you can like. You don't have to. It's like I don't like if I really want it, I can pick it up, but I don't have to pick it up to play the game. Like I can play the game, enjoy the game without having to buy all these extra things. I can just buy the game and play it.
Yep.
So I like that about it.
Yeah, that's another good thing about it. And then, but at the same time, if you do a subscription, you get all these DLC for free.
Yeah. And, I mean, you get free stuff and they reward you.
Or you get it with the subscription cost, but
yeah.
But that's the coolest thing about that model, and that's why Elder Scrolls Online has now considered to be a pretty big success now.
Yeah, and that's like that one's available on the Xbox One and PS4 and PC, so that one kind of like has almost like expanded to a whole new market because a lot of the MMOs were PC exclusives. I mean. So you could only play it on the PC. So right now you can jump on your PS4, you can play Elder Scrolls, you can jump on your Xbox and play Elder Scrolls, which I like about it because you don't see a whole lot of MMOs making the jump to consoles.
No, you don't at all. And which is actually really cool because if you don't have a good PC but you do have a console, play on the console. Why not?
Yeah. And you got the internet connection. Yeah.
And then so that that's another thing I've been noticing about a lot of MMOs lately. So DC Universe Online, Star Trek Online, those are all on console. And Elder Scrolls Online is now on console. I believe, Final Fantasy XIV is on the PS4.
Yeah, you can only play it on PS4.
So a lot
because Square Enix, they hate Xbox.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. I apologize about that.
Okay.
Well, you did get Final Fantasy 15, at least.
Yeah. The main series can make it onto the console, but nothing else.
A lot of these, the future of MMOs, it looks like they're going to consoles and they're making console ports, except for WoW, but WoW is WoW, so.
Yeah, there's almost no chance. I think there's probably, I'm going to say there's no chance, but okay, I'll give it like a 2% chance of actually making it on the console, just so I can't be caught saying that there's no chance. There's this very, very, very low chance that WoW ever gets ported to the console.
And it's funny, there's a guy, his name is Bellular Gaming, he has a YouTube channel, and by the way, you should go check him out, he's really cool. If you like World of Warcraft, he does a lot of World of Warcraft videos. But he made a video on how you can connect your Xbox or PlayStation 4 controller to your PC, and with a couple add-ons, you can play World of Warcraft using a controller. And obviously, it's not that great for raiding end game, but it's a lot of fun for like casual leveling and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I could see. Like I could see like maybe one of the expansions down the line of World of Warcraft introduces something that is playable on console, like a light version of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see it being on there, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very slim chance it'll go there. But let's see. We had one more thing we were going to talk about. I forgot though. Do you remember?
Well, I don't remember. I thought you had this all written down,
I
man.
did too, but apparently not. This is why I'm bad at this. Hang on. Okay, yeah, that's it. There we go. So, in our opinion, so now we've kind of seen where MMOs are today. So it started out strong. There was a lot in the market after World of Warcraft came out, but a lot of them died because they couldn't replicate. They were trying to replicate the same success as World of Warcraft was, and they didn't do good. Oh. And then you got the major success story of Final Fantasy XIV. So it's like MMOs can be good, and they can be their own success, or they can be their own success.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like the developers and the publishers really need to release the game and like keep their expectations within reason. Like, no, you're not going to release a WoW killer. Mm-hmm. Know that your game is probably not going to reach 10 million subscribers. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if your goal is to make a solid game and get like 2 to 3 million people playing like on and off, I feel like that's a reasonable goal for an MMO.
Absolutely, very reasonable. But at the same time, I don't think, as far as like the subscription model is concerned, the subscription model is definitely going away.
Yeah,
there's only two games that are running it right
two
now.
Games, yeah.
While the other ones are running free-to-play and very successful free-to-play with subscription options.
Yeah.
But the reason because of this is there are so many games in this generation, in the last generation, just going forward, that offer a way to play with your friends. And that's what MMOs did. MMOs offered you a way to play with friends, meet new friends, stuff like that. Yep. And a lot of games today, PlayStation 4, Xbox, like Call of Duty, Battlefield.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every game released now, unless they're just strictly dedicated single-player games. I mean, you see them every once in a while, like The Witcher 3, that was single-player. Yeah. But I mean, most mass-market games have a multiplayer element to it. So maybe like 15 years ago, like games came out and they didn't really have a multiplayer element, but now you're pretty much always guaranteed some kind of online multiplayer where you can interact with other people. So that's almost like every game coming out is kind of like an MMO in some way. Yeah,
in some way, shape, or form, every game is massively multiplayer online.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not role-playing games. Most of them aren't role-playing games, but there's a lot of ways to play with your friends now, and MMOs aren't the only one. So it's not really a dying. I would say it's far from dying.
Oh, it's in an evolution right now. I think it definitely
evolution. Yeah.
It needs to definitely take a look at what it does better than those games and what it does worse, and maybe try to like fix that. I mean, because you look at games like Destiny, where Destiny came out, and that was like a persistent online world with like light RPG elements, with like a PvP and a PvE. So I mean, that kind of like tried to be the best of both worlds. We're gonna have really good Call of Duty style shooting, and like we're gonna be in like a Halo style alien world. So we're gonna try to tell a really cool story, and we're gonna try to have really cool player versus enemy style social gaming. But that ended up being like weakest of all of them. I guess it didn't do any of those really well. It just did them. Like it wasn't like a standout story. Didn't really have standout like PvP or PvE when it first released. So I tried to just almost do too much at the time. So it spread itself a little too thin when it first came out.
I guess the Atlanta Falcons just won the Super Bowl.
Well, I thought the Patriots did.
Did they?
I thought the Patriots won.
Well, that's beside the point.
Yeah, who cares? Football sucks.
I just saw somebody tweeted something.
Stupid jocks.
It's fucking jocks. Let us nerds be nerds.
Exactly. Shut up. We're trying to do a talk here. Yeah, Patriots won 34-28.
Oh, the Patriots won?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady
Fucking
goat.
Tom
He's a
Brady.
goat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so congratulations to them. But yeah, it's not, because most people, like I think we said it before, most people who played WoW, who grew up playing WoW, that don't anymore, it's because they're moving on to other things, they're moving on through with their life, and
Just less time for video gaming.
it's
That's
just a
been
lot
happening.
less time for there was less time for video games, less time to spend 4 hours a night raiding one boss, wiping the one boss on a game. So it's they're kind of in a evolution, like you said, evolutionary form, and so it's going to be interesting how they
I kind of liked about we didn't talk about the most recent expansion for World of Warcraft, Legion. I played that like a pretty good bit. Like I think I put in 40 hours in that game, and that is like I think that is the evolution where MMOs should go almost, because like you don't have to sync. You don't have to, like, you can if you want, but like I would play like 2 hours a night, an hour a night, and I still felt like I was making progress in the game, and I was making meaningful choices through the game because of the way the quests were structured and the leveling was structured, and with the rewards they give you, I felt like I was making a meaningful, just playing for an hour or playing for 4 hours, I felt like I was still doing something.
Yep. And yeah, I gotta say the same as well. Like if I'm sitting here, I've only got like maybe 3 or 4 games for my PS4. If I'm sitting here for like 2 hours, I put some time into a game, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. I like it. But with MMO like World of Warcraft and with everything that we're doing right now, I've already put this up on my channel. But the biggest reason that I left was because it's like I don't have time for this anymore. Like I can't do it. I want to do YouTube. I want to do YouTube with my best buddy Zach. So
yes, I mean that's like the beautiful thing about World of Warcraft. It's like I've played on and off since like 2007, like 10 years now, on and off, where I'd come for an expansion, play for 40 hours, put in 40, 50 hours, stop. And that's a beautiful thing about World of Warcraft is it allows you to do that. So you could be like, well, I have some extra time. I'm going to jump into the new expansion, play it for a little bit. And I felt like I got a good experience. I felt like I really was a part of the world, and I felt like I got a decent chunk of the story.
Yep.
I felt like I did really cool things. I played the newest class, and I thought it was really cool. And maybe I'll try the most recent patch, or maybe I'll try the next expansion. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like a wait and see type deal.
Yeah.
So it's not something. Yeah, I mean, it's not something you want to sink all your time into now. But if you want to, at the start of it, get in and have fun.
Yeah,
you'll get some fun out of it. But I think that's all we got. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all we got on MMOs. Unless there's anything else you want to spout out.
No, I mean,
I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of MMOs looks bright, and I'm gonna keep playing MMOs and keep trying them as they come out, and maybe one of them will finally stick that I really enjoy. But I mean, there's always World of Warcraft I can go back to.
Yeah, exactly. There's always World of Warcraft. You and I gotta try ESO. What we should do is Is ESO for Mac? I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, so we should buy ESO, both of us, and do like leveling up adventure together for a month or something like that. So that'd be pretty fun, right?
Yeah, just to see how that is.
Yeah.
Because I have never played it. I've never even touched it. I don't even think I've watched a video of anyone playing it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think like I said, that's all we got for today. We'll come back at you. Actually, news. I'm not going to be here. I should have talked to you about this before. I'm not going to be here pretty much all next week. So probably not going to do an episode next Sunday. Or we're not going to record next Sunday. I don't think we're going to record Thursday either. But when I get back, I'll be back the following Sunday. We'll record then. So it'll be a couple weeks before we get some more content up. So.
All right.
So with that, I'm Chris.
Zach.
And bye.
Get out of here, healthy animals.